here's our portal page. It's systems.capriai.us. This is where you log into our system and everything. So I'll just go ahead and sign in here. And this will bring you to a page where you can choose which of your sub accounts you want to use. But you can use any that are linked to the agency that you have a plan with us with. So just go ahead and choose one here. Oh, actually, hold on, this is the wrong one. There we go. So starting off, this is the fallbacks page. This just lists any kind of errors or anything that happens. The most important thing that we'll be looking at here is the settings page. So this is the CRM page, and right now the only CRM that we work with is Go High Level, but later on we will be adding more CRMs that we can connect with. But starting from the top here, this is the location that it's linked to. If you are choosing for your bot to be booking anything, any appointments and stuff, you can choose whichever calendar you want to have it linked to. This right here is the primary objective. This doesn't really have any effect on the stuff that happens in Go High Level. This is mostly for just the emulator, which I'll show that later. 1 second. And this right here is actually the most important thing here on this page. If you're using GPT-3, which we do recommend, it will only work if you have control with CRM workflows selected. So be sure to have this selected. And then follow up with stale leads. You don't really have to worry about this because this can be accomplished in workflows and Go High Level. And in fact, in the snapshot, we actually include a few workflows that will accomplish this. But once you have all this set up, move on to the AI. And for now, we're just going to be going over the GPT-3 settings because Dialogflow is a little bit outdated now. We do still support Dialogflow, but we don't really recommend using it. So OpenAI key, to use the system, you will need a OpenAI key. Hold on a second. You do need a OpenAI key with OpenAI to be able to use the system. And you would just go through them and set that up. And while we're on the topic of OpenAI, one of the biggest issues that people, especially trial users, have been having is the emulator not working. And this is generally because if you are using a free trial for OpenAI, our system actually uses too many tokens. It exceeds the token rate for the free trial for OpenAI. So you need to go to here in your OpenAI dashboard and settings, and you just need to go to payment methods and make sure that you have a credit card on file. Otherwise, things don't really work too well. Just for the record, we do have people in chat who will be answering any questions while I'm going through this, but if anything doesn't get answered, we will be having an FAQ at the end. So just bear with us. So starting from the top here, this is the prompt. And this is basically where you tell the bot everything that it needs to know. So starting from the beginning of the prompt here, we have you are Eleanor, the friendly assistant for DAS, which is the parent company for Capri. DAS is a resource group for non-technical entrepreneurs to find the resources that they need, blah, 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 blah. Basically, the first part of the prompt is always supposed to be telling the bot what it is, who it is, and who it works for, right? It's basically giving it background information. And when you're designing the prompt, you kind of want to follow a set kind of schematic. At the beginning, you always want to give it background on who it is and what it should be doing. And then after that, usually you want to tell it more about the company that it works for, right? Like, so any kind of services that they offer, anything like that. And that's where we have right here, like your job is to answer any questions that the contact may have. Um, Basically just giving it instructions on what to do next, right? So for instance, here we have you're trying to schedule an appointment for the contact to meet with a member of our team, then a little bit more information about the initial meeting. Um, but scheduling the contact is your primary goal. And if the contact seems interested, you should try to coordinate a date or time. So starting from the top again. So you start with telling it about itself and about the company that it works for and what services that the company offers. And then you want to tell it what its job is, right? And so after that, uh, you need to establish rules for it to follow. And so that will be stuff like do not answer any questions you were not directly asked, answer questions if the contact asks them, anything like that. Any kind of restrictions that you want to put on the bot, that is, you need to put that basically at the end, right? Um, that's just how ChatGPT was trained, was essentially in a way that it works best whenever the instructions that it's given and the prompt that it's given is formatted in a certain way. So it's usually best to stick to this kind of format where you explain what it is and what it's doing, and then you tell its job, and then you give it rules to follow, right? And I'll go ahead and post this right here, the do not answer any questions that you weren't asked and all that stuff, because this is a extremely common thing to do. Pretty much everybody needs to have this instruction set, just so it doesn't, go off on tangents or anything like that. So I'll go ahead and post that real quick. So after the prompt is filled out here, the next thing is model type, and we recommend just using ChatGPT because it's the most advanced right now. But you can use DaVinci as well if you want. The next thing is temperature. Basically, this is how much the bot will get creative and try to stray to, like, you know, be more creative in how it answers stuff, and it gets a little bit more outside of the bounds of exactly what you've told it, right? We recommend about 0.08. That keeps it, that allows it to have a little bit of wiggle room, but it's not just going to go off and start making stuff up, right? Max output length. This is how many tokens the response that it can give is. We recommend having it between about 180 and 200 because that gives enough room for your prompt and your knowledge base and all that stuff to actually be sent in the packet to OpenAI, because the maximum length or that OpenAI can actually receive is about 4,000. So we want to keep this relatively short, but you can, if you really need to, you can increase this up to a few hundred. But you don't really want the bot to be just, you know, going on and on and on and making stuff up. So the next thing here is the knowledge base spreadsheet URL. So the first the first area that the bot is able to pull information from is the prompt, right? This is the basic level, the highest level of information that you can give the bot. The next level is the knowledge base. And so that looks like this. It's a big spreadsheet, and this will be, for instance, on this side, what the contact potentially asks. And that's stuff like, how does Capri work? Can I speak with your team? Stuff like that. And then in the second column, this is where you'll put how you want the bot to answer, right? Now, the thing to know about the knowledge base is that this is mostly for stuff that's like FAQ kind of stuff, like stuff that is factual, that has like a set answer, that doesn't need any like kind of critical thinking on the bot's part or anything like that. Like stuff like where's your office located? How much do your services cost? What are your office hours? Stuff like that. That's the main kind of thing that you want to include in the knowledge base. Stuff that can just regurgitate essentially. Um, Something to bear in mind though about the knowledge base is that by default, you can only have about 30 or so uh, entries in the spreadsheet before it gets to be just way too much information to be sending in a packet. But fortunately, we do have a extension service that uses a machine learning thing that we have on our side that narrows all this stuff down and only pulls out the necessary information for whatever the conversation is. And that makes it to where you can have basically just as many things as you want in the spreadsheet. And that is that's an extension or an add-on that you can get. Let me see if I can find that. Go ahead and put the link to an explanation for that in the chat here. That right there, that link that I just put, that is a uh link to a video explaining the extension for this thing. And that will give you a token that you can put into this area right here. And whenever you put all this stuff in, makes it to where you can just have as many spreadsheets as you want and as big of spreadsheets as you want, because we take care of narrowing that down. And that's all covered in that video there. So going back to here, frequency penalty, this is essentially how often the AI will repeat itself. We just have it set to like 1.6. This is more just for these two settings right here, the frequency penalty and the presence penalty, is just trying to get it to use different words or different language and stuff like that. You can play around with these and see if it just see whatever suits you, but 1.6 for frequency and 0 for presence, that's usually fine. Handoff prompt is the next thing here. This isn't really used too much in the Capri portal. This is more for on the Go high level side. We just kind of have it here in the system settings for like storage purposes, but we'll talk more about this later. But the final thing here is the fallback mode. So fallback is whenever the bot essentially recognizes that it doesn't know something and is about to say something that is kind of like, oh, I'm not really sure what you're talking about. And this setting is for if you want it to respond or just stay quiet and let the person handle it. And that's what this is right here. Say nothing tag only means that it will not respond and will add a tag to the contact and go high level. Responded tag means that it will say what it was trying to say that got recognized as, that's not quite working. And that's what this stuff is. So for instance, in this example here, we just said just a random thing, essentially, just like LOL what? And what it was thinking, what it was going to say was, sorry, I don't think I'm the best person to answer that for you. And that's not really, it wasn't too sure about what to say there. And so it just added the fallback tag, right? So that's what fallbacks mean. It's anything like, oh, I don't think I can answer that for you. I'm not so sure about that. Whenever there's a situation like that, that's when the fallback tag is added. And then this setting right here controls whether or not it will at least try to respond or if it'll just stay quiet and then somebody else can come and take over. So once all this stuff is set up, that's whenever you can come and actually test it out. And that'll be in this robot button right here. And then we'll just choose ChatGPT. This is a built-in emulator where you can actually test the bot and say things to it. Like, so for instance, I'll just type right here, how much do you guys cost? Emulator's being a little bit slow. There we go. Okay, so if inside of Go High Level somebody were to say this thing, this is essentially how it would respond in that situation, right? So it would say the total cost of your project will really come down to the total hours needed and the type of developers skills needed, et cetera, et cetera. Okay, so this is actually a pretty good, this is a pretty good response here. But say I wanted it to say something else, right? Say I wanted it to, instead of asking to schedule a call, maybe I wanted it to more specifically ask what field this person is in, right? And so what I would do is I would click this button right here, this little exclamation mark, and I would just enter what I would rather it have actually said there. So I'll just copy this right here, paste this here. What kind of field does your company work in? Then I'll hit update. And so now you can see that it has been replaced with what I wanted it to actually say. Now, this is where the third source of knowledge for the bot comes in at. So if I wanted it to, in the future, say something like this, I would click this save conversation button right here, right? And if you can see this, example saved successfully, refresh. So now it will be, this conversation will be saved in the list that you can find right here. And this is a list of all the different saved sessions. So let me find the days. I guess I need to refresh. 421, right. So it will be saved inside of this list here. And this is all the different sessions that we've saved in the past. And all of this stuff makes up the third source of knowledge for the bot, right? And whenever you do need to keep in mind though that this is the lowest tier of knowledge for the bot in terms of priority, because the three different sources of knowledge, they have a like a priority kind of tier list. What it listens to the most is the prompt. This is essentially what it always looks at first and tries to pull information from this first. The second place that it gets information from is the knowledge base, which is more for, like I said, like FAQ questions and stuff. And then the third and final thing that it checks is it checks to see previous sessions inside of the emulator, and it will run it through there and pick out anything and be like, oh, okay, well, I should respond in this manner because in the save session, it was this was a very similar situation, right? So that's how information is stored for the bot. Those three ways, that's how you can train the bot to say how you want and act how you want, stuff like that.
Hey, Seth, show them how to import sessions from another account. I don't know if you already did, but we had a question about that.
Okay, gotcha. So if you wanted to import from another account, because technically at first the emulator is only to this particular sub account, but if you have another sub account with other sessions that you want to bring in, you can click this button right here, and then you can choose another sub account that you have some training data in, and then you just click that, and then you click import, and you can see it does prevent any kind of duplicates or anything like that. But whenever you import that in, say you have a testing account that you've been just going through and training the absolute heck out of the bot, giving it like hundreds of different saved sessions, and then you wanted to import those to any kind of clients or something like that, any other sub accounts, you could import that training data by using this button right here. So now that all that's done, the bot is pretty much ready to use. So we'll go over to the go high level for this account here. And right here, this is the workflows that have been imported through the snapshot. Now let me
Hey, first just check, has everybody had a chance to import the snapshot? And if not, I'm gonna put the link right now in the I'm gonna put the link in the chat for the URL where you can get the snapshot. And Andre, I see your question. I'm just gonna go ahead and answer it while I'm here. Your clients will need to log into the portal the same way you do, and that's not white labeled technically right now. So if you want to give them access to like log in, that's fine, but we will have the ability to white label by having the emulator in a custom menu item that's due to be released by the end of next week. So you will be able to give them the ability to interact and save their own sessions soon. So yeah.
Go. Okay. So now that Quentin, I assume yeah, I see you posted the snapshot. So when you import the snapshot to your sub account, it will fill out a few workflows for you, and then it'll also fill out a bunch of, let me show you some custom values here. So we'll just go through the automation here one at a time. So these workflows are something to bear in mind for these. These will work. These will absolutely work, these workflows that are templated, but these are more meant to be kind of like showing you the capability. These are like frameworks essentially, right? Um, they do work, but it's better to, if you can, build your own workflows to suit your own needs and stuff like that, because these are very, very generic and basic, but they will work. So going through them, to start off with, uh, the most common thing that we've been seeing is people using the SMS function, right? So we'll go to the SMS folder here, and the way that it works is if a customer replies, let's just or actually the first thing that happens is whenever a contact is created, they will come into this workflow here, right? And contact is created, it adds the tag paid and SMS, and then it sends out the message, hey, this is custom values assistant name from custom values business name, got a request on lead source from first name, right? So this is just a very, very basic like outreach kind of thing whenever a contact is first created in the system. And it just sends this out to try to get them responding, right? But it does add the paid tag and the SMS tag, which is very important because the response workflow, we'll go back here. Whenever a customer replies and they have the tag paid, it brings them into this workflow, and they can't have the kill switch tag, which we'll go over in a minute. But whenever a customer replies and they have the paid tag, it brings them in here. And so what it does first is it removes them from all the wait workflows, which I'll go over in a minute. And then it also does a cost control function. So what this does is it checks how many requests the contact is sent to the bot. This is just to kind of keep costs down and make it to where people won't just keep going back and forth with the bot forever, right? Because, you know, it does cost money. And so this is just like a little check. And if they have gone over 10 requests, it'll send them down this branch here and add the kill switch tag. And the kill switch tag essentially makes it to where the bot will just not respond to that person anymore, but a person, like an actual human, can come and take over. But this essentially just completely takes them out of any kind of responses or anything like that. If they do not have, if they're not over that limit, then it sends them down here to the Capri webhook. Now, this is the most important step. This is the step that is whenever you are building your own workflows, this is the thing that makes Capri work. This is what makes it respond. Everything else is just kind of, you know, template kind of stuff that you can do however you want to suit your needs. The webhook, though, this is what is actually the most important thing. So first of all, the URL here, this will always be the same URL. If you make any new webhook steps, this is what you'll want to put in there. And then you'll see a bunch of these are filled out with the keys for those custom values that got imported, like the OpenAI key, the handoff prompt, the regular prompt, stuff like that. This is just to make it easier on people, but you can, instead of having, you know, custom values dot prompt, which just pulls from the custom values in the systems, you can just delete this and type in your own prompt, like you are Eleanor, the AI assistant for DAS. And you can just go through here and just like in the Capri settings over here, you can fill out your own prompt for this specific webhook. And if you ever have anything like we have a customer who's having different like paths through webhooks based on like the age of the customer, right? So if they want to send them down like a booking route for like somebody who's underage or like a parent or something like that. And so what they do is they have different branches, and then each webhook that they have for each branch, like say the webhook for the adult branch has a completely different prompt than the one for the like child branch. So this is completely customizable. In fact, all of this stuff is customizable for each individual webhook, depending on where you're at. Moving on though, let's go ahead and post that back there for now. So model type, this will be the same thing as like ChatGPT or DaVinci, but we'll just leave that for now. Temperature, same thing as in the settings over here. Max length, same thing. Presence penalty, same thing. Task, this is where there is a little bit of a difference here. So respond is that it is trying to actually answer questions, and it's waiting for, it understands that with this setting, it's waiting for somebody to talk and then it'll respond to them. If you have the outreach task though, it will try to actually send a message to them first, right? And we have a workflow that I'll be demonstrating that later. Knowledge base, if you have multiple different spreadsheets and you want a different spreadsheet for a different webhook, this is where you'll post the URL for that. OpenAI key, if you have different workflows for, say you have somebody who works for you has their own OpenAI key, you can have them use their own OpenAI key instead of you use yours. And then handoff prompt. Now this is where this is the handoff function. And so what this essentially is you set a series of conditions that when they are met, the bot adds a tag to the contact that says handoff. And so, for instance, what you could do for this would you could be like the contact has confirmed a day to book an appointment. And so whenever the bot realizes that in the conversation, the contact has confirmed a day that they want to book an appointment, uh, it will add a handoff tag to that contact. And so then what you could do is have another workflow where the trigger for it is the tag handoff has been added. And then you can have it like, say, send an SMS message to like a team member or something, and then they can come in and take over and check everything out, right? But that's what this is. You can have multiple different conditions here. They are separated by semicolons. And so you can do confirmed a day to book an appointment, and then we can do the contact has confirmed a time to book an appointment. And you can just do as many different like conditions as you want there. You just separate them by semicolons, and then once all of the conditions are met, that's when it'll add a handoff tag. So that's what that is. I'll just go ahead and back out of here. And so once going through the workflow again, once it reaches this Capri webhook, it does a conversation turn. It'll respond to whatever question it was that started the workflow, and then it'll go down and in this particular workflow, it will add one to the GPT requests, which is the cost control. And then it will move on and it will check to see which channel the person is replying through. If it's through Facebook, it'll add them through the Facebook workflow for wait for reply. And then if it's SMS, it will go down to the wait for reply SMS workflow. So now let's go and check those out real quick. So whenever a customer has stopped or has finished the response, it will add them to this workflow right here. And so by default, what this does is it waits for 15 minutes. And you can definitely increase this because we've had people say that if they're just using these default ones, this 15 minutes is a little bit spammy, but you can change this to however many minutes that you want. And then what it does is it checks to make sure that there's not a handoff tag, which would be like, waiting for a person to come in and take over. And then if it does not have a handoff tag, it triggers this webhook here, which is a outreach task, which means that it will talk to them first without them, having to say anything back. And you can see that we have a custom prompt here that is different from the other one here. And it is contact first name has not replied to, hold on here, hasn't replied to your most recent message, and you want to make sure that they are able to get any questions they have answered, as well as make sure that if they're looking to connect with one of our team members, they are able to do so. And then some rules, you can use jokes and emojis and blah, blah, blah. But point is, what this function is that essentially once the conditions are met, it will reach out to them and be like, hey, this is, Capri or whatever, just trying to make sure that you have all of your questions answered and everything like that. If you have any questions, just let me know. And then it will, by default, bring them back to the top of this this wait step. And once again, this is a kind of a template kind of thing. So if you just have this by default enabled, this doesn't have any way to stop unless they respond, which takes them out of this wait for customer reply thing. This doesn't have any way by default to stop. So you will want to like either increase this to be like a day or something like that if you're just going to use this default wait for customer reply thing, right? But that's what the function of this is. And the outreach function is just if it's somebody that you definitely want to keep interacting, this is how you would do that. You would just add like an outreach function, right? Going back to workflows here. This is a example of a workflow that it would go through if either the fallback tag is handed or is added, which like we talked about earlier, the fallback is whenever the bot doesn't really know how to respond. It's not sure about its answer. It'll add a fallback tag, or if the handoff tag is added. And then we have a webhook here. This is where you would put like a what's the name of those places? The stuff that integrates like I can't remember the name of.
Zapier?
Yeah, like Zapier. Yeah. I don't know why I can't remember that. But this is where you would put like a Zapier URL, and so it would notify a human right here. That's the name of the webhook, and it just links to that, and then goes down, checks which tag it is, making sure that if it's a fallback tag, it goes ahead and removes that tag because it's been taken care of. Um, and that's just like a default little thing to if either of these things happen, you can link it up to your Zapier or whatever, and it will let somebody know. Um, and that's pretty much all that we have in the just like the default automations that come with it. There's the same kind of thing for Facebook Messenger over here. It's got the wait for customer reply. It's got the paid ads for if a customer applies through Facebook and they don't have the kill switch tag, adds the tag, check switch. We do have a thing here to uh, what it does is it checks which of the whenever you start talking like on Facebook, there's the different like button options like get started or tell me more. If it's any of those, then it does go down here and adds the paid tag and does the webhook by default, right? But this is case sensitive, so depending on which buttons you have on your Facebook Messenger, you will want to make sure that it is actually spelled correctly and capitalized correctly and all that stuff. But aside from that, it functions pretty much exactly the same as as the SMS one. It's got its own prompt here. It's got its own knowledge base, but it'll just send a message to them to try to respond to whatever it is that the opt-in message was. Like, tell me more. Sorry. Like, tell me more or get started. And then once they're through here, it adds them to the wait for reply. And then once they reply, if it's through Facebook, it'll be through here again. And if it's through SMS, it will be through the other one, which is back here, the ongoing conversation one. Well, real quick, let's just go over the custom values that it's added, because this is where you would just kind of have like defaults and stuff. So for instance, for the assistant name, the default assistant name is Eleanor. And you would just save that in. And then in any of the, if you ever put this key into a prompt or something like that, it will pull this value in. So it is able to do that. You can actually have these keys in any kind of your in any of your like webhook steps or anything like that, like your prompt or something. This is where you can put a default handoff prompt. This is where you could put a webhook URL that functions the same way as the like contact the team member workflow step we looked at, where you just put like a Zapier URL here and it would send the information over. This is where you can put a default knowledge base, you can put a default prompt, and you can put a default OpenAI key. But aside from that, I'm pretty sure that's pretty much it. You're ready to go once you have all this stuff imported and you have all these settings filled out. Actually, one last thing I do want to go over. So the settings that we have here in the portal, this is essentially the kind of settings, or the settings that the webhooks will pull from if nothing else is filled out, right? Like, say you don't put a spreadsheet value in your webhook URL, it will by default pull the one that you have in the systems.capri AI stuff, right? The only thing is though, you cannot forget any of the ones that have a like a required tag right here in your webhook steps. You have to always in your webhook step have a, I hope I'm, is everyone still able to hear me all right? Okay, just making sure because I got a message. Um, so in your webhook step, you always have to have an OpenAI key. You always have to have a prompt. You always have to have a model type, a temperature, and a maximum output length. You have to put those inside of your webhook step or it won't function properly. Everything else is either optional or it will default to what you have here. But everything that you put inside of Go High Level, so like say if you put a prompt here and you have a prompt here, it will default to the prompt that you have here. So this is more, the settings here more are just like backup settings that are also used for the emulator. Everything that you put inside of Go High Level will override everything else, right? So just bear that in mind whenever you're filling things out. But aside from that, I'm pretty sure that that's it. So I guess now we can just answer any questions. If anybody has questions, just type them in chat and we'll try to respond to them. I'll just stop sharing now. OpenAI key tokens. Okay, hold on. Can you show us how it can directly book the appointment directly? We don't actually have that function ready yet, but that function will be deployed within the next week, I believe. That's like the thing that we're trying to get set up right now. As of right this second, you do have to, like, it's able to connect to a calendar and it's able to pull times from the calendar and get them to like offer them times and stuff like that. And then whenever they like say what times and stuff they want, then you can have somebody come in and manually book the appointment. But until we get that deployed, which, like I said, will probably be within the next week. Uh, thank you. Till we get that deployed, it's not quite ready yet. Is OpenAI key tokens costly? Uh, it's not really that expensive. It's like cents basically for each like conversation back and forth. But if you have a client, you can have them use their own OpenAI key rather than you eating all those costs if they have that. Can you have a task called appointment? You can have if you have a task set to booking. Um, so if you have a webhook step where you have the task set to booking instead of respond, it will be actively trying to pull data from the or pull information from the calendar and offer that to them to try to get them to like say what they want to be booked at, right? Yeah, it's within the next week or two we will have it we should have it able to like actually directly book. We're just getting that finished right now on our end. Any other questions? And for the record, for anybody who came in late, we are recording the session and we will be uploading it to our YouTube. Let me go ahead and get that for y'all. That is that thing. Let's see here. Do you have to download the emulator data to each sub account manually? I believe right now all you have to do is just for each sub account, just click that import button. It's not like a it's not like a very long process, but I don't believe right now we have a way for it to just automatically pull in all new training data. Um, but I will talk to the dev team about looking about adding that. Um, let's see, doesn't it stop after 10 touch points? By default, yes, but you can just remove that if you want. That all of these hold on a second, let me pull this back up. So just as a reminder, all of these workflows are not required. These are just like template example workflows that are just kind of like examples of what you could build for your business, right? But they're not required. None of the steps in here are required. Like let me give you an example here. Uh, So none of the steps like the cost control or anything like that, this isn't required. You can just take this out if you want. You can make it to where it doesn't add to the wait for reply stuff, which the wait for reply workflows, their entire purpose is just to try to get people to interact. So you can just either remove this step or draft the wait for reply workflow. None of that is necessary. The only thing that's technically necessary for the bot to work is a workflow that brings a customer in and then hits a webhook step. This is the only thing that's required is a webhook step and a functional workflow that brings people in. So anything else is completely optional. You don't have to do anything like that. So for instance, for Kathleen, for your question here, where the handoff tag is added, but the wait for customer automation didn't stop. If you just edit the workflow that is the wait for reply workflow, just edit that to either just be like in draft or have it only trigger a single time or something like that, or add a check at the beginning where if they have the handoff tag, and I'll show how to do that real quick. Pull it back up. So if we go to the wait for reply real quick, what you can do is you can add a condition here. Oh, actually, it already has a condition here. So if you are having issues with that, if you send a message to our support team, they'll be able to help that and go through that with you in more detail. You can send them like a screenshot of your workflow or a Loom video, and they'll be happy to help you out, see what's going on. But uh, once again, if this isn't necessary for you, if you don't actually want it or care for it to be sending any kind of outreaches or stuff like that, you can absolutely just draft this page and everything will still work perfectly fine. The only difference is that it won't every 15 minutes, reach out to them. Okay, gotcha. Good to see. Good to see. Does anyone else have any questions? How do you have it follow up every 4 hours? So for that, you could just change this wait here to say 4 hours, and then move this out of the way, save action, and then once this will refresh. Oh yeah, that's the action name. Okay, so yeah, you would just change this. You would just change this to be 4 here, then hours here, and save the action, and actually make sure to click save before refreshing the page like I didn't. Uh, and that would be all you would do for that. Get out of here. Get out. And the objective is not met, we'll follow up with the same. Let's see. You can in the prompt, if you're talking about if the objective is not met and the objective is you're trying to get them to reply, you can tell it to in the prompt, you can tell it to be more creative or something like that. You can increase the temperature. Pretty much the sky's the limit with how you edit the prompt to have them to have the bot. You can just give it more instructions on what it should try, essentially, if you want it to be adding or asking different things. Uh, best practice to, can the AI read custom fields? Yes, but only, so you would have to essentially, like for this right here, contact.first name, this has to be filled out in the prompt. Or this has to be filled out in the prompt with the key, and then this custom value has to be filled out already. It cannot, like if you just like say, oh hey, in the prompt, if you just say, hey, check to make sure that the contact's first name or something like that is filled out, right? Like it wouldn't be able to do that. You would have to like make sure that all the information is filled out. It can in the prompt reference stuff that is already, no, I'm not. It can in the prompt reference stuff that you have filled out. Yeah. Let's see. What would onboarding new clients look like? I want this offer on one SAS plan, but we want to pass the cost to clients. I'm not so sure about that. I'm just a tech guy. But if you send a message to, let's see here, info at Capri, or it's Quentin at capriai.us. If you send an email to him or to info at capriai.us, that somebody a little bit more qualified to answer something like that would be able to answer you for anything like best practices or what onboarding new people would look like. You would want to follow up with either of those emails. But unfortunately, I'm just on the tech side. I'm not really a sales kind of guy. But if anybody else has any more questions, we are starting to run out of time here. So any final questions?
Can you
Mhm.
basically give I guess priority to certain things? So it's like, hey, we want to be able to book an appointment, but it may be beneficial to ask certain questions or get certain answers before
we attempt to book, first of all, just to get more buy-in for that appointment, but also to maybe give a little bit more context in terms of the person who's on the other end, what they can help, that lead with. Is there anything like that? Like, hey, this is more important. This is the ultimate goal, but in the meantime, do this.
Yeah. So you can include stuff like that in the prompt. Like you can be like, your primary objective should be to get that information that you're asking for, and once that information is acquired, you should move on to trying to get a person to request to book an appointment. But that's also something that you can handle inside of the by just having workflows, right? Like you could have a workflow that triggers once you have the handoff prompt, and in that workflow, that's where you would have a webhook with the task of booking, and that's where you would have it actually trying to ask to book, right? And the way that you would trigger the handoff that would bring them to that workflow is you would have the handoff prompt. Can't spell. Handoff prompt, and you would be like, the client or contact has confirmed what their field of work is, and then a semicolon. The contact has expressed interest in having an appointment booked. Whatever kind of conditionals you want in that handoff prompt. And then once that information is gathered, then it would add the handoff tag, and then it would move them to the workflow that has that booking, that that the
Yes, sir.
webhook that is specifically for booking. If that makes sense to you.
Yes, sir. That makes a lot of sense. Thank you. Thank you very
Mhm.
much, sir.
Yeah, because it's super robust what you can do with the workflows and with the webhooks, because the webhooks, every single webhook can be unique based on whatever the situation is, right? So it's something that you can just like play around with and see what you can think of to, you know, to build stuff out, and have like each different situation be a different workflow. It's very robust. Um, any other questions? Yes, yeah. The recording for this whole thing will be on our YouTube page, and I'll just go ahead and post that again real quick. Let's see. We'll be here, and we also have last week's recording on there as well. But once the video is finished rendering, we will be putting this up on YouTube. But all right, I think I have time for one more question before I need to be wrapping up here. But I mean, if there's no questions, great. That means that I actually explained everything right.
So in the meantime, till the actual booking the appointment happens, we would
Mhm.
create some sort of contact this person, or some sort of tag or something like that, that will basically contact the whoever needs to contact to kind of finish that booking.
Right. Yeah. So what you would do is you would have a handoff prompt that would be like, oh, the customer has confirmed that they want to book an appointment. The customer has confirmed a day and a time, and then you would add a step that would be like send SMS. Am I sharing my screen still?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir.
You would just be like, oh, add an SMS or send an SMS to, my mouse will work here, to a phone number, whatever phone number, and you would just say contact as requested an appointment. You could do it like that and just have it in the like in the workflows, because there's a bunch of different options in the workflows that you could do, like send an email, send an SMS, or you can do the confirm, or you could use the handoff or fallback tag reached webhook step here to send a thing over to Zapier, and then that should include all the information along with it. So does that make sense?
Yes, sir. And the handoff, just so I can understand where that is. That's to build in something to Capri to where
Yeah.
yeah. So if it says handoff, it'll gotcha. Right.
Yeah, that is a built-in thing on our back end that whenever there is a handoff prompt in a webhook,
Sweet.
so handoff prompt, whatever you have in here, whenever that is like fulfilled, then it just knows. Actually, it's handoff. I have been doing that wrong there. This is what the custom data would be, and then the prompt goes here.
Gotcha. Gotcha.
Yeah. And so whatever conditions you have here, like the contact has requested an appointment, whenever this webhook is sent on,
Gotcha.
on our back end, it's able to read this and be like, yep, based on the conversation, the contact has requested an appointment, and then it on go high level adds the handoff tag. And it doesn't stop it from responding or anything unless you have some additional settings in the workflow. So it will probably, you can just have it be like, whenever the contact has booked an appointment, just tell them, great, somebody will be following up with you shortly or something like that. And you would just include that in the instructions in the prompt. But yeah, that is all back end stuff.
Man, you're badass, man. It's so cool, man. It just made my day, man. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
But all right, I'm gonna be wrapping up here, everybody. If anybody else needs any more help, let me get our Facebook page for our support, and I will post that in the chat. But it is just on Facebook. It is Capri AI support, and 9 to 5 every day. There will be a person watching that, and they can do stuff like give you recommendations. If you're having any issues, just feel free to send them a message, anything like that. So yeah, but we will be wrapping up there. Thank you for your time, everybody, and I hope you all have a wonderful weekend. But ciao for now.